let's talk about that a little bit. Are you guys seeing a drive and a shift in specifically like voice AI agents taking over where we've seen the traditional SDR, BDR role?
Just to kick things off, like, who are you and what's your founding story?
Yeah. Kevin Baumgardner. I run a sales coaching and consulting practice called Set Sales. Spent my entire career, a little over 20 years, in sales and sales leadership, mainly for high growth, early stage tech and software businesses. I cut my teeth selling copiers and printers and fax machines in downtown Chicago, going door to door. It was an amazing experience, super cutthroat. It taught me a ton. I loved every minute of it. Got bit by the start.
You walking with a briefcase literally down the road.
Oh yeah. I don't want to date myself, but early 2000s briefcase. Yeah, stack of business cards and some flyers inside of it. Different time. Actually, when I started, we would use business cards as in like a Rolodex as our organization of contacts. We didn't have a CRM. So the good old days. But anyways, I got bit by the startup bug and started to work at some early stage software businesses, all the way from pre-seed, Series A, Series B, all the way through to like later stage. So I had just some unbelievable experiences helping businesses grow and leading sales organizations for those orgs. And throughout that process, started to do some one-on-one coaching and consulting on the side, and just realized how much I really enjoyed from an outside perspective, looking into a business and figuring out how can I tweak and edit and improve their sales process. So shifted out of the startup grind and into more one-on-one coaching. So I've been doing that for the last few years.
Do you have any like horror stories from door-to-door selling?
Oh yeah. I mean, I would get kicked out, those days were a lot different. After 9/11 in the United States, at least, like you just can't go into a building and solicit and open up doors and knock on doors. So different today, like that process isn't there. But yeah, getting kicked out of a building, getting locked in a stairwell on the 70th floor of a office building in downtown Chicago, and the definite horror stories, little bit of PTSD from that experience.
I remember my first sales gig, so to speak, was car washing. So I'd basically knock on doors, walk down the street, knock on doors to find out if people wanted their car washed. And my number one customer, basically, it was an older lady that had a mobility scooter, and she paid me £50 a couple of times a month just to come and wash her mobility scooter. And she probably just felt sorry for me, but because I was only like 13. But yeah, that's kind of part of the grind, isn't it? Kind of like getting your hands dirty and learning from the bottom.
Yeah, I love that about sales. It's like you got to start somewhere, and usually it is the grind, right? It's the SDR, the BDR work, the not fun, sexy part of sales. But I think starting in that position, you learn a lot, you grow a lot, and get to progress.
Chris, what was your shittest job?
Well, my shittest job, cool. I mean, there's been a lot, but I mean, look, it's similar. I mean, probably my first ever job was in an ice cream shack on the beach. So queues out the door, just pumping ice creams all day long. That's the life.
And Kevin, what drew you to sales? Like, what did you love about sales when you first got into it?
Yeah, I got fed the Kool-Aid pretty early. My dad was a sales trainer his whole career. So I got to see him in action. Even back then, he did a little bit of work from home stuff. So I got to hear him on sales calls, and we were middle class, weren't like super wealthy, but we had everything we needed growing up, and I really enjoyed my childhood and appreciated that. So I wanted to maybe not follow in his footsteps, but do the same and provide for myself and my family. So I got to sit in on some of his sales training curriculum as I went through like early college. So when I was interviewing for jobs, I had like PSS was big back then. It was Xerox Learning Systems and Learning International. Professional selling skills was this like big sales training back then. And I had that on my resume as a 20-year-old kid. And all these recruiters are like, how did you take PSS? And so, yeah, I knew like most kids don't, the unknown of what they're going to do when they grew up, I knew that I wanted to be in sales right away. And from the time that I started and, it clicked. My first 6 months weren't great. My first year wasn't great, but after that, like really aligned, and rest is history.
It takes time. Look, it takes time to master the craft, but it's interesting because I think unless you're exposed to it around family or it's even now, like I find it wild that like sales isn't taught in school or communication skills. Like it's a real bugbear of mine. But like, no one leaves school going, I want to be in sales when I grow up. You only get that if you've been, James grew up around an entrepreneurial family and, your dad was a salesperson. So you get it at an early age, it sticks with you. But I don't think a lot of people even now get that.
We're starting to see it a little bit more. Like, I only took 2 sales courses in college. It was a marketing degree, right? We're starting to see way more universities in the United States. It's probably similar in the UK, where now there is actual sales degrees.
Okay.
I'm glad that it's getting to that point, but I couldn't agree more, Chris. It's like, why? Like
you've taken 2 more courses than me. So
just break down, Kevin, for us right now. Your business, Set Sales. What does it deliver? What are you delivering for your clients? Let's dive into a little bit of that.
Yeah, the majority of the work that I'm doing is one-on-one coaching and consulting. That's scoped project-based work, or what I would consider like semi-fractional head of sales work. So I'll go into a business, figure out the problems, the challenges, the pain points that they have within their sales organization, and build scoped projects around it. Sometimes it's defining their sales process. Sometimes it's building messaging and scripting and language, or building their go-to-market strategy, or even building more of a structured sales leadership approach, sales recruiting, hiring, onboarding, training, and development. Like, what does that look like? So I do a lot of that work. I also build some custom sales training curriculum where I'll help build the content, deliver the content, and help reinforce and hold them accountable to it. That's the majority of the work that I do is either that one-on-one coaching, stepping in fractionally for a few hours a week to help and support them, and or building some sales training curriculum for them.
What do you see as the most recurring challenge that sales teams face?
Probably opportunity creation, lead generation, net new opportunity creation, building that consistent pipeline and that consistent funnel. If the business has the luxury of having a ton of inbound lead traffic and referrals and organic growth, or an incredibly strong marketing organization, like usually there's opportunities to improve on process and conversion rates and like overall funnel efficiency. But the vast majority of the businesses that I'm interacting with, specifically more earlier stage, less the enterprise realm, right? More early stage, smaller mid-size or mid-market. Almost all of them are struggling with, how do I drive a more consistent opportunity pipeline and get more solid leads in the funnel and more at bats with potential prospects and with our ICP. I don't know. I've seen that over the last probably decade. That's the biggest challenge and concern that most sales reps face.
And do you think that's the biggest area people should focus on? Because I'm conscious, obviously, sales. You've got SDRs, BDRs, AEs, senior sales, closers. Is there a portion of that where you spend most of your time, just because that's the biggest area people struggle with?
Where I personally spend the most time in my business,
or pain points companies have the most issues with.
Yeah, I do. Because if the leads aren't there and the opportunities aren't there, like nothing else matters. I had a board member from a VC firm that invested in one of the startups that I was involved in. We were sitting around the boardroom talking about like feature and functionality and like product roadmap and direction we wanted to go with our product. And he's like, guys, nothing happens until somebody sells something. Yeah. So how about, and it stuck with me. It's like sales matters. And in order to get sales, in order to have people buy things, we got to get opportunities in the funnel. It's just, it's fundamental, it's paramount. And I see it time and time again. It's one of the biggest challenges that most sales orgs face.
Do you think AEs should be prospecting or just focus on selling?
Every org is different. I love that question, James, and Chris is laughing. Every org is different. It depends on the org structure, right? If I'm an early stage business and I've got a few salespeople, they're probably doing everything, right? I remember my first like true early stage job. I was the BDR, the AE, and the account manager. I was everything, right? As organizations mature, man, I love to get them out of prospecting. If I have a really solid AE that is so good at running the sales process and getting deals over the finish line, I don't want them to do one prospecting call. I want them focused on that all day, every day. And I want to give them a VA as a sales assistant to help them update the CRM. Like I want them solely focused on managing their pipeline and deal strategy and getting deals over the finish line. But not every sales org has the luxury of having these uber, rock star account executives that can do that, right? It's usually a mix of roles. So
there's also this perception of, I don't think it's right or wrong, but I think, like you said, if you've got an outstanding A player who, they should do what they do best, and I agree, move everything out their way. But actually, there seems to be this legacy approach of, I've done my dues. I used to do that years ago. I shouldn't be doing it anymore. Whether it's right or wrong, they can or they can't. They just shouldn't because they're too seasoned now or they're too tenured, which I think is maybe the wrong attitude for certain industries and individuals.
For sure. And that's on sales leadership, right? To dial in roles and responsibilities and their focus. Before they come on board, they should know there is a prospecting portion of this role or there is not. I couldn't agree more, Chris. It's like, if they don't want to do it and they've graduated out of that and they did the grind and they don't want to do it anymore, they should communicate that to the team, and the team should communicate that that's not part of it or it is part of it.
It probably goes back to picking the right industry. Again, if you're going to a scrappy startup, their product haven't got product market fit, trying to find their feet, you're probably going to have to roll up your sleeves and get dirty, rather than coming in with the perception of, I shouldn't be doing SDR, BDR work.
Absolutely. It all depends on the level of the business.
And Kevin, part of the reason that we got connected is because, to your point, pipeline generation is one of the biggest challenges that sales teams face. And equally, from our side, one of the biggest educational pieces that we have to train the people that work with Punch is that outbound leads should be treated in a different way versus inbound leads. And there's a shift in mindset, process, and strategy when it comes to converting outbound leads versus converting inbound leads. What are the biggest principles around converting outbound versus converting inbound opportunities?
Yeah, it is the dynamic of, with Punch, driving more opportunities in the door, and then with the services that I provide to help push them over the finish line and help drive efficiency in the sales process. I love the synergies between our business. And I do think you're right that if we have an inbound opportunity coming in the door, they know us, they reached out to us, they can likely clearly articulate the need, or maybe it's a problem challenge sale. Maybe it's an opportunity-based sale. They can either tell us, here's the problem and challenge that we have that we need fixing, or here's the opportunity that we see that we want to take advantage of. That's why I'm reaching out to you. A lot of the times when we're going outbound, that isn't clear. So in my experience, that process of outbound selling has to be way more focused on, one, your qualification criteria, and two, the overall discovery process. So every business should have their structured qual process. Maybe it's BANT, maybe it's MedPick, whatever it is, dial it in and make sure that the team follows it in a consistent way. But then even deeper than that, diving into discovery, not just qualifying them, but really understanding the need challenge, problem challenge, or the opportunity, and then diving into the impact of that. So many sales organizations that I work with, they do a really good job of uncovering needs and pain points, but they don't dial in impact behind that need and challenge. Here's an example. They have a specific need or a specific challenge that they've communicated, but we haven't dug deep as to the impact that has on the business, or the impact that has on the team, or the impact that has on their champion, their decision maker, the person that they're dealing with. It just helps us, through the sales process so much more to tie back our value, our quality, our output, our solution back to what we uncovered in discovery. And a lot of times in an inbound opportunity, that stuff is it's out there. They've communicated already. We do a good job of uncovering that. They already have that need. Outbound, it's completely different.
So how would you communicate that impact?
Meaning later in the sales process?
Yeah, so when you're training your clients around the fact that you need to communicate the impact that the challenge your prospect is experiencing, like how would you train someone to be able to deliver that, what the impact is?
I think it's twofold. It's doing a good job in the discovery or needs analysis stage of the sales process to uncover what that is, first of all. If we have to uncover it, number one, and then clearly articulating that back to them and making sure that we're on not only the pain and the challenge, but the impact of that pain to the organization and the team and that person. And then you get later in the sales process to whatever your stage is, solution recommendation or quoting or proposing or, solution delivery. Now I'm going back through, hey, here's the pain and the challenges that you mentioned. Here's the impact of that pain, what we're seeing with our current clients, or now you're tying back what you uncovered from an impact perspective and specifically how your solution ties. And maybe even before that, I think you could also do it if your product or solution has a demo stage. I just see way too many demos that are, hey, here's the functionality, and they go through all the pieces of functionality and every demo looks the same. It's like, God, it irks me that a rep can sit down and do the same demo every day, day in, day out, show a feature, talk about the pain that they mentioned, talk about the impact, and tie it back. Like that process of tying impact to pain and challenges should happen throughout all of the stages of the sales process, not just solution review.
I was just thinking about something you said earlier, which is super interesting for me, and it'd be good to get your take on it, because going back to your point of view of A players, AEs that remove all obstacles, they should be just closing deals and pitching if that's what they're good at. I hear this all the time. Going to the top of the funnel, SDR level. We're all talking about be curious, multi-thread, multi-tactic. Telephone, email, LinkedIn, video, all these different things.
Yep.
Do you have the same philosophy with that team in terms of if a rep's really good at just being on the phone, that's their skill set, that's what they do best, should they be spending time doing research and doing LinkedIn outreach and doing creative? I see some people that have different opinions of this. I'm just interested to see yours.
I might speak out of both sides of my mouth here. On one hand, if a sales rep is completely crushing it, I look at a will skill matrix. If they've got the will and they've got the drive and intrinsic motivation, and then they've got the skill to do it and they're performing at a high level, if they're in that upper right-hand quadrant of will skill, I'm helping them delegate. I'm leaving them alone. I'm motivating them, and I'm letting them do what they need to do. Do I want to pull that person out, and because it's our process to now use LinkedIn and use these other strategies and I don't know. Part of me says let them go and let them run. But in the same vein, the process and the structure and the strategy that we've created, it works, right? So just because they like phone and they're good at the phone doesn't mean that if they integrated LinkedIn and all these other things, they couldn't even be more successful, right?
Yeah, true.
And then the rest of the team sees that they're not doing the things that they're supposed to be doing. I don't know, double-edged sword here. So I think you got to take into consideration the team dynamics and the culture and the sales organization that you've created before you can really dial in an answer to that.
Yeah. And going back to so when it comes to nurturing and closing these outbound leads, outside of ensuring that you're delivering impact through your messaging the whole way through that sales cycle, is there anything else that's different about that outbound lead nurture through to close versus inbound from a tactical perspective, from a strategic perspective? What are the things that you're finding works?
Outside of what we talked about, I don't know if there's anything particular like strategies or tactics. I find most sales organizations don't have defined sales process, meaning here's all the stages of the sales process that we follow. Here's the specific objectives or the goals of each stage. Here's the tasks and activities that we should take part in. And then best practices as well. And finally, here's the exit criteria. So this needs to be true in this stage in order for us to move on to the next stage in the sales process. I think in both inbound and outbound opportunities, following that structured sales process is super important, and it will increase, conversion rates and the likelihood of us closing the deal. But I do think for outbound, you got to stay even more diligent, specifically within like exit criteria. Let's make sure that we've gotten through all of the structure we need in that sales stage to move on to that next stage. I think it's just even more critical for outbound than a tee up for inbound.
Yeah, I think we found the same at Punch. We're very process driven. It's all about repeatable, scalable frameworks. That there is so much tools, tactics, technology. Things are changing every day. How do you stay up to date on those frameworks, those processes, and make sure they don't get stale and kind of iterate? Yeah,
sales leadership should be diving into like what is new, what are the new tools and technologies that are out there. I think from a strategic and leadership perspective, that should be part of their role. They should be focused on that day in, day out. And the sales process shouldn't just be stagnant and not change. Like it's a living document. It should always be improved. But I'm always careful that we don't need to make a change every month. Like maybe it's quarterly analysis of our sales process and of our tooling and technology. Even something as important as commission structures and compensation planning. I've been part of early stage businesses that because of the nature of that org, everything changes a lot and it throws the sales organization just into a tailspin. Yes, we should stay on top of it. Yes, we should make improvements, but I think we got to be calculated and dialed and communicate with the team, get feedback from the team on, are these changes too much? Is it impacting your role? Yes, tech is changing, but that doesn't mean that we have to jump on it right away and implement it.
Yeah, there's a lot of promises out there from AI SDRs and all these other tools which promise the world, and actually, like you said, which ones do you use, which ones should you implement, and are they right for your business?
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. Are you guys seeing a drive and a shift in specifically like voice AI agents taking over where we've seen the traditional SDR, BDR role today?
Well, they're not there yet. There's a bit of a grey area around like voice agents in particular, because are they actually legal? There's arguments out there
sure.
saying that they're not legal. Definitely the quality's not there. I do think there's a use case for them, certainly for inbound. It's conceivable that they will get to the get to the point where the quality is so good that you will not know whether it's a human or a bot that you're on the phone to,
right?
From an outbound perspective as well. But there's a massive grey area from a legality perspective. So we just need to see how it plays out.
Yeah.
I think what we're seeing amongst clients is very much that compliance, legality, until that becomes crystal clear, they're not ready to adopt it. So we're kind of taking that same stance. I think as with everything, and I'm sure you as well, Kevin, as an agency and in this world, the minute it becomes crystal clear and it is a use case for it, how we adopt it, how we add it into our go-to-markets, how we take it forward, we'll be at the forefront of that, as I'm sure you will. Intent wasn't a thing years ago. LinkedIn voice notes, they've all come around in iterations. It's just a new way of doing things, a new process and product to manage.
It has been a really, exciting last 5 years in sales in general. The automations that are built now are just night and day from what they were even 8, 9, 10 years ago. I just love where tools like Gong and Clary and 6sense are going with like just analytics and sales effectiveness and AI improvements. Like the days of not being able to analyze and review calls and or look at data in the sales process and understand shortcomings and where funnel bleed is, and then to make improvements. sales leaders have such a different role today to be able to utilize those tools effectively. It's not just look at your CRM pipeline and make edits and improvements. Now it's let's analyze all this massive amount of data that we have to make our teams better. It's pretty exciting, like the changes that we've seen in the last few years.
Yeah, I think we've obviously seen it as well from a digital world. Now you truly can have reps all over the globe. They don't have to be in the same office. I remember when we first started out the business, you had to sit in side by side with a call splitter, listening in the hope they'd get a call in the next 7 hours and you could give them some feedback. Now it's your point. Reps can ramp quicker. They get an instant feedback. They're listening to the best reps in the business. They listen to live calls from last week and the week before. It's just made so much better analytics and conversation intelligence.
For sure. And managers should be doing that. Like, the call listening structure of a sales loft or an outreach where, you block time on your calendar and you're listening to your BDR, your SDR team or your account executives running calls and running meetings. It's that real-time feedback that you can provide that's really impactful. One other automation conversation that I'd like to chat about is on just the opportunity for sales operations, revenue operations, sales assistants to be outsourced into, the virtual assistant realm. I'm seeing so many of my clients, instead of hiring $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 sales admin, sales ops, revenue operations analyst or person, now they can hire 4, 5, 6, 7 virtual assistants. It's pretty interesting to see the amount and level of support that even some account executives and ICs have within businesses that I never had. Like I'd never even thought about having an assistant. Now a lot of account executives have virtual assistants that are helping them stay on top of their pipeline, manage their CRM, analyze deals, help them proposal generation and reviews. I don't know. Are you guys seeing that as well?
Yeah, I think we've built a team specifically to deliver that, and I think over time that team will be leveraging AI, and what will happen is that team will be a hybrid team of human plus AI agents, and a lot of that work can really be automated and still managed by humans, but you'll have that blend of a digital workforce with a human workforce working collaboratively to essentially enable salespeople to be way more focused and follow the process.
Love it.
Yeah, there's some pretty cool. I've seen some pretty cool use cases of like how people are, leveraging some of these agents to who's viewed my LinkedIn profile. Let me automatically find out if it meets my ICP. If it does, it will send them a message and put a date in my calendar. Like you can automate so much now beyond probably just a virtual assistant, but to the point of, I think there was I can't remember who it was. Some sales thought leader. I read a podcast the other day, but he said, he was late for a meeting. He downloaded all the transcripts from HubSpot, edited them, chucked them into a thingy, got it to produce a podcast, and listened to the podcast in 20 minutes in the car journey to basically give him the pitch of how I should proposition this to the client ahead of the pitch. You just couldn't do that years ago. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah. So Kevin, just to wrap up, if we're talking to sales closers right now, and you could give them one piece of advice around how to increase your chances of closing an opportunity that's come through outbound, what would that one piece of advice be?
Just one.
Yeah, that's my problem is I'm trying to find what is that one piece of advice. If I had to give one piece of advice to an outbound seller that created an opportunity from an outbound outreach process, if I had to pick one piece of advice, it would be really dialing in the discovery process. So when I do deal strategy or when I do win-loss analysis, and I look at why we won or why we lost deals or overall just pipeline effectiveness, I almost always go back to the discovery or the needs analysis stage. And there's almost always something that we either did really, really well to enable us to win that deal or something that we should have done differently. And maybe it's diving in and understanding the decision-making process or the decision makers overall, or really uncovering the pain and impact like we talked about, right? What is the challenge that they're facing and what is the impact of that challenge? if I had to give advice, it would be focus on discovery, script it out, message it out, understand everything that you need to uncover prior to that discovery process, and just make sure you can check those boxes before moving on and rushing to demo, presentation, capability overview, solution recommendation, the later stages in the sales process.
And then use that discovery, like use the insight you've gathered from discovery calls and refer back to it the whole way through the process, right?
Absolutely. I know you said one, but I'm going to say two. So another thing that I would say is where I see outbound opportunities falter, or they lose the opportunity, or the opportunity doesn't move forward. Usually we tie it to doing a really good job with defining next steps. I find way too many salespeople that they end a call and there isn't defined next steps. Most importantly, time on the calendar with an invite sent, with them accepting that invite. In our industry, we get ghosted so often, and I don't think it's the customer's sole fault that we get ghosted. A lot of times it's on us. If we did a better job of putting time in the calendar and communicating, here's what we want to do in that next step, here's the value behind it, here's where we're going. If we can't put that definition and that next step definement into that, it's not, we're not going to move the process through in a good way.
Yeah, it's a bugbear of mine. We try and drill it into the biz dev team, but you're right, because I think at a bare minimum, if they're not ready yet, that board meeting didn't take place, or they didn't do the internal review, it forces them to say, "Hey, I'm still not ready for this call yet, but I'm communicating with you again. I'm back in the loop." And I don't understand why reps don't do it. I agree.
So, but it's not just the reps' fault; it's sales leaders and sales managers' issue as well. Because I should have a report that I can really easily review in my CRM that shows every opportunity without defined next steps. So there should be a defined field of next step and a defined date of next step in the CRM. And I, as the salesperson or I, as the sales leader, can report on that and provide that feedback to the team.
Cool.
Amazing. Kevin, thanks so much for joining us today. Whereabouts can people find you?
Yeah, setsales.co, setsales.co is the website. It's kevin@setsales.co.
Amazing.
Thanks for having me, guys.
No, appreciate it. Appreciate your time.
So if you need coaching and training on selling, Kevin's the man.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Cheers, Kevin.